In the last 1,000 years, just 8 popes have been made saints. Half of those canonizations occurred in the last 100 years. The process of canonization is rigorous. First, the candidate must be accepted as a servant of God. From there, it must be determined that a candidate has lived the Christian virtues heroically and will be deemed venerable. Next, it must be recognized that the candidate is in heaven and that a miracle has been performed through the candidate's intercession. Once determined, the title of blessed will be rewarded. Finally, a second miracle must be attributed to the candidate for sainthood. This provides the green light for the Church to move forward with the canonization process. The miracles attributed to the candidate are thoroughly investigated by the Vatican and must fit a number of required criteria. Here are miracles attributed to the last 4 popes who have been canonized within the Catholic Church. Pope John Paul II was head of the Catholic Church and sovereign of the Vatican City-State from 1978 until his death in 2005. Born in Poland, Pope John Paul was the first non-Italian pope since the 16th century and the third longest-serving pope in the history of the Church. He was one of the most traveled world leaders in history, visiting 129 countries during his pontificate. Pope John Paul was canonized as a saint on April 27, 2014. 2 miracles were attributed to his intercession as a requirement to receive sainthood within the Catholic Church. The first miracle was reported by Sister Marie Pierre, a French nun, who was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, a degenerative disease of the nervous system, in 2001. Pierre testified that her Parkinson's symptoms were steadily growing worse after her diagnosis. She found it extremely difficult to drive, walk, and write, and her left arm hung useless to her side. Then, exactly 2 months after John Paul's passing, Sister Marie prayed to him. After praying to John Paul, when she awoke the next day, she felt brand new. In January of 2011, Pope Benedict XVI confirmed, aided by consultations with doctors and church officials, that Pierre's healing was scientifically inexplicable and was indeed due to the intercession of John Paul II. The second miracle, leading to the canonization of John Paul II, concerned a 50-year-old woman from Santiago, Costa Rica, Floribeth Mora Diaz. Diaz suffered a brain aneurysm in April 2011, and, after a series of tests in a hospital, including a brain scan and a 3-hour operation, the doctors told her that her condition was inoperable and terminal, and that she would have only 1 month to live. As a wife and mother of 4 children, she had a strong desire to live and began praying to Pope John Paul II for his intercession. After watching his beatification on television, she went to sleep, but was awakened by John Paul saying, "Get up, don't be afraid." Much to her husband's surprise, she got out of bed and told him that she felt well. She also informed him about her encounter with the deceased pontiff. Floribeth subsequently underwent several medical tests, including new brain scans, which left her neurologist and other doctors wholly stupefied. They declared that her virtually instantaneous cure was scientifically inexplicable by any known natural agency. Later, a commission of medical physicians was assembled by the Vatican. The commission brought Floribeth to Rome in secret, admitted her to a hospital for a new examination, and compared her current state of health to neurological records and scans from before her cure. The commission confirmed what Diaz's doctors had said, and also concluded that her cure was scientifically inexplicable. This paved the way for the Theological Commission and Pope Francis to declare Pope John Paul II a saint. Pope Paul VI was head of the Catholic Church and sovereign of the Vatican City-State from June 21, 1963 to his death in August 1978. Succeeding John XXIII, he continued the Second Vatican Council, which he closed in 1965, implementing its numerous reforms. He fostered improved ecumenical relations with Eastern Orthodox and Protestant churches, which resulted in many historic meetings and agreements. In January 1964, he flew to Jordan, the first time a reigning pontiff had left Italy in more than a century. Pope Paul VI was canonized in October 14, 2014, after it was confirmed that 2 miracles could be contributed to his intercession. The first miracle involved the birth of a baby in California in the 1990s. The identity of the family and its location has not been revealed. The fetus was in a critical condition because of complications during the 24th week of the pregnancy, and doctors predicted the baby would die inside the mother's womb. The diagnosis was severe. The baby would probably die inside the uterus, or at best, would be born with seriously damaged kidneys. Doctors advised the woman to terminate the pregnancy, but instead, the mother reportedly placed an image of the late pontiff and a remnant of his vestments on her stomach and began praying to him. The baby was born healthy at the 39th week of the pregnancy, and witnesses were unable to explain the change in the baby's condition. Doctors closely monitored the child's health, particularly its kidneys, until age 12. The Vatican launched official inquiries into the case in 2003, and medical experts officially confirmed the inexplicable nature of the child's recovery. The second miracle involved the healing of an unborn girl, Amanda Maria Paola, in Italy. The baby was dying in her mother's womb following a break in the placenta, the lifeline through which nourishment and oxygen is provided. Explaining that the child would be either stillborn or gravely brain damaged, doctors offered the mother an abortion, but she refused and instead went with her husband, on the advice of friends, to a shrine associated with Paul VI. Here they prayed and asked for his intercession. Their baby girl was safely delivered with no brain damage or other serious problems. She is now living a healthy life. Theologians advising the Congregation for the Causes of Saints voiced their approval to this miracle on December 13, 2017, after it was confirmed by doctors on October 26. From there, it was sent for a final vote by the Congregation for the Causes of Saints before Pope Francis could issue his approval. Pope John XXIII was head of the Catholic Church and sovereign of the Vatican City-State from October 28, 1958, until his death in June 1963. Pope John surprised those who expected him to be a caretaker pope by calling the historic Second Vatican Council, the first session opening on October 11, 1962, which is now his feast. Pope John XXIII was canonized on April 27, 2014, the same day as Pope John Paul II. The first miracle associated with his intercession involves Sister Caterina Capitani, who in 1963 had a gastric hemorrhage in the middle of the night. After months of treatment, doctors removed most of her stomach, which was covered with tumors, and her entire spleen and pancreas. At first, she improved, but then she developed an external fistula, which leaked. She was on the point of death on May 22, 1966, when the assistant provincial of the Daughters of Charity brought her a relic, reportedly a piece of Pope John's bedsheet. She put it on her wound in the hope that the Lord would come with his mercy and his love. Suddenly, Sister Caterina woke from her stupor and no longer felt any pain. Instead, she felt a hand on her wound and heard a voice calling, "Sister Caterina." Frightened to hear a man's voice in her room, she turned and saw Pope John standing by her bed. He told her she was fine, and she went to tell the other sisters that she was healed and hungry. With the acceptance of her healing as a miracle, Pope John Paul beatified Pope John in 2001, and Capitani was there. She died in 2010, more than 43 years after she was healed. Controversially, Pope Francis determined that Pope John XXIII could be declared a saint, even without a second miracle attributed to his intercession. The Vatican said Francis had the power to dispense with such requirements and could proceed with only one confirmed miracle to John's name. A spokesman insisted that many theologians believe that a second miracle isn't required. He said Francis had approved a decision by the cardinals and bishops of the Vatican's saint-making office. Pope Pius X was head of the Catholic Church from August 4, 1903, to his death in August 1914. Pius X is known for vigorously opposing modernist interpretations of Catholic doctrine and for promoting liturgical reforms and scholastic theology. He initiated the preparation of the 1917 Code of Canon Law, the first comprehensive and systemic work of its kind. He was canonized on May 29, 1954, after 4 miracles were linked to his intercession. The first miracle involves Sister Marie-Françoise de Perras, a nun who had bone cancer and was cured on December 7, 1928, during a novena in which a relic of Pius X was placed on her chest. The second involved the nun Benedetta de Maria, who had cancer, and in a novena started in 1938, she eventually touched a relic statue of Pius X and was cured. Pope Pius XII officially approved the 2 miracles on February 11, 1951. After his beatification, 2 more miracles were linked to the intercession of Pius X. The first involved Francesco Balsami, an attorney from Naples who had a pulmonary abscess, who was cured upon placing a picture of Pope Pius X upon his chest. The second miracle involved Sister Maria Ludovica Scorzia, a nun who was afflicted with a serious neurotropic virus and who, upon several novenas, was entirely cured. Pius X became the first pope to be canonized since Pius V in 1712.